Hello and welcome to Snake Therapy. I'm Shira and this is Zenith, the Western Madagascar tree boa. My subscribers might be a bit confused right now because I posted a poll when I first got him asking for opinions on his name, and I originally decided on Orion, but just wasn't sitting right. After spending more time with him, I felt I needed to change it. But thanks so much to all of you who voted. It was really fun to engage with you about it. Today's episode is about what I consider to be two of the most valuable tools for mental and emotional health: art and snakes, and about what happens when the two are combined. Two good things together can only mean a better thing, right? We'll talk about why these therapeutic tools are so powerful, how they led to a project that's improving my emotional health like nothing before, and how you might apply some of these concepts to your own life, even if you don't consider yourself an artist or have snakes in your life. So, let's slither on into it. If you're watching this, you've probably already heard plenty from me about what snake therapy is and why these animals have such incredibly soothing effects on our mental and emotional health. If you're new here, definitely check out some of my earlier videos that go into more depth on the concept. But here's a synopsis. From the physical sensations of their bodies against our skin, to the visual delight of their variety and beauty, to the joy, wonder, and sense of purpose that comes with learning about and caring for them, snakes offer extraordinary therapeutic benefits to humans. They teach us lessons about transformation and personal growth, about patience, empathy, and compassion, and they can help empower people to conquer fears and encourage mindfulness. They also have palliative effects on feelings of anxiety, sadness, PTSD, trauma, and even sensations of physical pain. And I don't speak only from personal experience, but also from observing its effects on countless others that I've shared my snakes with, both in private and via an animal therapy nonprofit I work with called The Little Zoo. From seniors to kids with disabilities to regular folks who initially thought that snakes were scary or dangerous, I've witnessed extremely powerful responses from people who've gotten the chance to interact with snakes in a supportive and positive setting. Although the concept of snake therapy might be relatively unknown, I'm not the only one who's talked about it. I'll put some links in the description to some other folks who've explored and endorsed it, so you can hear some other perspectives. You can also see it with your own eyes. Art, and I'm not talking about the finished product, but the act of making art and employing one's creativity, can help us to process our emotions, reflect on issues we struggle with, and soothe internal distress by giving us a way to externalize it in a constructive manner. Art therapy isn't about whether the outcome belongs on a gallery wall. It's about the exploration of self that leads you to make creative choices, and about finding associations between those choices and your inner life. Some people might balk at this and say, I'm not a creative person. But the fact is, we all are if we take the time to really explore and express ourselves. Whatever line you draw, whichever color or material you choose, can serve as a window into your mental and emotional world and reveal much you may not be consciously aware of. I've been making art of some kind or another since I could hold a crayon. During really difficult times, making art was both an escape from pain as well as a way to examine it so I could cope, grow, and adapt. Trust me, what I produced wasn't and isn't always good, but the act and momentum of creating is what holds the true ability to comfort and heal me. Though I started out with drawing and sculpture, it was in my early 20s that I fell in love with the medium that would become my focus for the following decades: metal. Now, metalworking isn't something you can just learn in a year or even a few and be able to really express yourself with. But I was captivated by the beauty and changeability of the material, and the methods, although extremely challenging, acted as constant lessons in patience and persistence. Metalworking is an undertaking. It's laborious and takes a lot of tools and skills, but it's that emphasis on process that made me love it, often serving as a kind of meditation for me. ADD be damned, it takes time and focus to make it bend to your will, no pun intended, but even the failures can act as humbling but important lessons. Sometimes it was a job, sometimes it was just because I wanted to make things or explore techniques, but always it was a therapeutic process, even when it was difficult. Anyone who's seen a therapist knows that therapy isn't always easy, but the benefits far outweigh the difficulties, if you look at it in the right way. It was only recently that I had the idea of combining the two things that I loved most together. I keep my snakes' sheds for many reasons. I like looking back on how they've grown over time. They're a great reminder of the importance of change and transformation, and because I think they're beautiful. But one day when I was on a streak of making what I called metal patina paintings, I had the idea to preserve the sheds of the 3 juvenile snakes I had at the time by adding them to one of these pieces. I had no idea if it would work, and I definitely don't consider the result to be a masterpiece, but what it did do was make me happy. I loved walking by this piece and looking at my 3 babies, who are now all like 3 times the size, and thinking about who they are, what they mean to me, and how unique each one of them is. A year or so later, I was bringing some recent sheds back into my studio to organize and bag up for safekeeping, and I happened to glance at the batch of cuff bracelets that were laying out in various stages of completion on my workbench. I had a bit of a light bulb moment. What if I could combine them? Snakeskin is a popular pattern and accessory material, but if it's real, it means the animal was killed. And as shed is delicate and will decompose if exposed, I wondered if I could preserve the sheds in a way that would make them durable enough to use for jewelry without covering them with glass or thick epoxy that would prevent you from being able to feel the texture of the scales. I made a batch of them, and although they didn't all turn out great, I figured out some ways of making it work. I sold a couple and enjoyed wearing the rest myself. And it stopped there for another year or so. After years of chronic back pain, I'd finally made the decision to have spinal surgery, and metalworking wasn't something I was physically capable of doing prior to the surgery or during the long recovery period after it. That was the longest time I'd ever gone without making art, and I think partially to compensate, I threw my creativity into the little zoo and creating this channel instead. After my body healed, I found that going back to making art just to make it and try and sell it didn't feel as appealing to me as it once had. I'll admit I went through a bit of an existential crisis, wondering about the decades I'd put into my craft only to possibly walk away from it. But no, it wasn't that I needed to quit, it was that I needed a different motivation. Connecting with people through snake therapy changed everything. The reptile community is vast and full of people from different backgrounds and interests, but what they all have in common is that they love these animals. They love their animals. Whether they're breeders or hobby keepers, they're extremely passionate about snakes, and many of them, like me, consider their pets to be like their children. That was when the real lightning struck. Sure, it was cool to make pieces with my snakes' sheds, but what if people sent me the sheds from their snakes so they could have a one-of-a-kind piece of art symbolizing the love they had for them? Suddenly, I couldn't wait to get in the studio. This was so different than just making something to sell or serve as a personal outlet. This had meaning for more than just myself. Making these would be like making a gift every time, a way to use my creativity to not just produce pretty things, but to forge a physical representation of the connection between human and animal, an illustration of how powerful that bond can be and how exquisite these creatures are. So I just got something very fun in the mail from Annalise at All Canadian Reptile Girl. Oh my, look at this. Oh my God. I can make so much stuff of this, and the head is perfectly intact. This is going to be so awesome. Guys, I got another one. This one's from Randy Pigs, and this one is extra special. It's from a green tree python named Dexter that he loved very much and passed away. And that is just exactly the kind of beautiful, special thing I want to do with these sheds, is make meaningful pieces that connect you with your animal even after they're gone. I got another one, guys. Very exciting. It's like Christmas every day around here. I got a shed from Abby, aka the curly-haired keeper. Many of you probably know on Instagram. She is an amazing keeper of reticulated pythons who she free roams around her house and posts wonderful videos of that. And I got a shed from her reticulated python named April O'Neil. Look at this. It's longer than I am. There's a lot of material to use here, so I think there's a lot to come from April O'Neil and Sheerlow Metalwork combining forces. So this is very exciting. Well, you know that you're deep in the creative process when the studio is a mess. And let me tell you, it's a mess in here. But that's a good thing because I'm working on some really fun stuff. Let's get to it. Five, 6 different coats of lacquers, at least, on top of the shed to make sure that you can not only still touch it and feel the texture, but that it's not going to rip or disintegrate over time. I've never felt so good about making art. It's healing me every time I make one, knowing that it makes someone else happy.
I got in the mail this beautiful custom cuff bracelet made out of Ether's shed. I sent it in to Shira. I just think it's so special that I actually get to wear around a little piece of Ether. I want to get something made out of all my snakes now. And how special. So even after they pass away, I'll still have a little piece of them.
It's also giving me more ideas. I've made designs I otherwise wouldn't have without the excitement, enthusiasm, and feedback from the people I've made them for. And the more enrichment I get by learning about snakes and connecting with people about them, the more new designs start to fill my head. This thing behind me is something I made originally to be a plant stand, but I never finished it. And I just realized it would make a fantastic climbing gym for supervised snake playtime. Zenith, you want to try it? You want to try it? I'll give you a peek into my newest idea. Many people have labels on their vivariums that show the zoological information about the animal inside, descriptions of their species, their native habitat, and their conservation status in the wild. The project I'm developing is my own version of this, but with a personalized and artistic twist to it. Not just the species, but your pet's name, the day where they were born or hatched, and the day they came into your life, also known as their gotcha day, and their actual shed, all on a metal backing, so that you can see and touch their unique pattern and texture on the label. I'm still developing the methods for this one. This is just a prototype, but it just goes to show you the possibilities really are endless when you think creatively about the things of significance in your life. It's all been done before, but not by you, with your own unique flavor. So even if you don't consider yourself an artist, even if you don't have or even like snakes, what I hope you walk away with today is the impactful and therapeutic nature of exploring creativity and the things you're passionate about. Don't think about the finished product or the end result. Think about what it is that moves you to pick up a pencil, to use a certain color or material, and what joy or comfort the process can bring you. Think of what you admire, what you love, or even what makes you anxious or sad, and make something from that. Whether it's snakes and metal or, I don't know, hippos and clay, it doesn't matter what it is, it just matters that you do it. Please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. It really helps me out. And if you have a few extra bucks a month to spare, consider supporting us on Patreon. And now that I've debuted these current projects, I'll tell you that one of the perks of membership involves a gift related to my snake and metal art projects. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Shira, and this gorgeous little guy is Zenith, and we'll see you next time for more snake therapy.